Well, folks, you know what they say, there's a first time for everything. And this year, planting fall potatoes is definitely a first for us. Now, I'd never heard of anybody in the South growing potatoes in the fall, but in talking to our tater man over at Irish Eyes, he highly recommended it and said we should easily be able to get a good crop of potatoes off in the fall. Now, it's still a little warm here. The highs during the day are around 90 or so, but it should start getting cooler pretty soon, which is what these potatoes will prefer. Now, the variety we're growing this fall is a Yukon Gold, and we've tried these before and had good success with them, so we're hoping for good results this fall. Now, the problem is that the seed potato producers don't usually have any potatoes available this time of year towards the end of August. So what we had to do is we had to buy these a couple months ago and just put them in the fridge and let them sit there until we got ready to plant them. Because when we received these potatoes, a lot of them had buds on them already a ½ inch or an inch long. So we didn't want those to keep growing. So we put them in the fridge to kind of stunt their growth, and we can pull them out and cut them up and plant them when we're ready. Now, I've seen some people will plant the whole potato, but we've always cut up our potatoes. And the main reason behind that is we can just make them go further. We can get more out of a bag of taters if we cut them up. And the second reason we cut our potatoes is to grow bigger potatoes. Now, if you look on your seed potatoes, you'll see the eyes or buds there where that potato is starting to sprout. And the more of those that you plant in a specific spot, the more potatoes you're going to get. But if you have too many eyes in that spot, you're going to end up with a lot of small potatoes. Now, the fewer eyes you plant in that spot, you're going to get fewer potatoes, but you're going to get bigger potatoes. And with these Yukon Golds, we're aiming to get bigger potatoes. So for us, it's an easy decision to get more rows of potatoes and to grow bigger potatoes by cutting these guys up and reducing the number of eyes we have in a specific spot. Now, let's talk about actually planting the potatoes. So I've played around with some potato row spacing in the past, and I've tried to plant potato rows as close as 2 foot together. But what happens when you get the potato rows too close is there's not enough available dirt between the rows to throw up on the potatoes and heal them as they grow. So from my experiences, 3 foot is about as narrow as you want to go on your distance between your potato rows. Now, you can certainly go wider than that and plant them 4 or 5 foot or even more apart if you've got the space. But I'm a little tight on space this fall, and so these right here were planted on 3 foot rows. Now, the first thing we want to do to plant our potatoes is we want to mark off our rows, and then we want to make a furrow to plant those potatoes in. Now, I used to use a string to lay off my rows to get them absolutely perfectly straight. But the older I get, the less I care if my rows are a little bit crooked. So I just put a stick at the end of each row and just drive to it and get as straight as I can that way. So I use my double wheel hoe with my plow set on there in the furrowing position to run along there and make my trenches or my furrows that I'm going to plant my potatoes in. Then I took my pieces of seed potato and I placed them along that furrow about every 8 inches. Now, we don't have to be real exact with this, just kind of ballpark it, but about on average 8 inches apart. And after I've laid those potatoes in the furrow, then all we got to do is come behind there and cover them up and make a little hill on top of those potatoes sitting in that furrow. So for that, I used my high arch wheel hoe, and I had the plow set put in the hilling position so I can run along there, straddle those potatoes, and cover them up as I run along the row. Now, you can certainly use the double wheel hoe for the furrowing portion and the hilling portion of planting the potatoes, or you could use the high arch for both the furrowing and hilling portions. This is just what I had set up currently, so it was easier just to grab the double wheel hoe. It was already set up in the furrowing position, and then after that grab the high arch, which was already set up in the hilling position. Now, if you've seen some of our other videos, you know that we like to plant almost everything in our garden on drip tape. But potatoes are one of those things that I don't plan on drip tape anymore. I've experimented with this both ways, and the years where I used drip tape, I feel like the dirt just got a little too wet. I didn't get as good a production, and I had a little bit of a rotting issue with some of the potatoes because the soil was too wet. So the last few times I've grown potatoes, I hadn't put drip on them, and I've kept that soil down there a little more dry, and I've gotten better results. So if your climate allows, definitely give fall potatoes a try. We're really excited to try it this year, and we think it's going to turn out really good for us. If you're interested in any of the products shown in this video, we'll have a link in the description there where you can take a look at those. Thanks for watching.